History doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme like a rapper hitting the downbeat of the Amen break. I started this channel to discuss things in the long term. I'm tired of people dealing in the selfish short term, but has intervened, and we can see in the riots that are going on all across America, but centered in Minneapolis with the death of George Floyd, that things really don't change. The downbeat goes on, the beatdown goes on. I lived for many years in St. Paul. It's right next to Minneapolis. The two downtowns are just 12 miles or 20 kilometers apart. I knew all about what was going on in Minneapolis. See, the riots that are taking place, the protests, whatever you want to call them, aren't just about the death of George Floyd. Like what I've been saying about the economy, this has been coming for a very long time, and nothing really changes. Now, in St. Paul, it's basically the same as Minneapolis. It's about three-quarters the size, similar, but it tends to focus on neighborhoods, taking care of people. It's set up that way. It has a structure that, well, empowers. I worked for many years on the West End, improving things in a neighborhood that was struggling, and we made some really good progress. Bad things still go down once in a while, but not as often. And, well, St. Paul certainly doesn't have the same police force as Minneapolis. See, this has been occurring over and over for a long time. And don't think for a moment that it's just black people getting killed. It's white people too. But like so many things in America, when bad things go down, it falls disproportionately on one group over another. It's just the nature of the institutional racism that is the original sin of America. It's how it happens. Now, in St. Paul, there's a police force that is well paid, very professional, very diverse, and these things just don't happen. The two cities are right next to each other, very similar, and you just don't see it happen. Why is that? Because St. Paul takes care of business. And by taking care of business, I mean taking care of people. Minneapolis, why? It wants to be the Minneapolis. It wants to be one of the great capitals of the world. And so it's let everything languish. Just doesn't care. And this has gone on and on and on. Jamar, Jamie, you can name all the names of all the people that have been killed by the Minneapolis police over the years. Nothing really changes. Why is that? I'll tell you why. It's what I've been talking about here. See, in the middle of all these protests, you might say to yourself, why isn't there a quiet voice that doesn't burn and loot and all of these other things? Well, I saw this go down once before in Miami, 1980. I lived there. This is the way it happens. The quiet voices never make it to the surface. Things never really change until something nasty happens. Now, I'm trying to talk in a nice, quiet, calm voice in a way that, you can just take it as a conversation. But don't ever forget that I'm really pissed off because I've seen this before. And nothing really ever changes. It just keeps happening. We say Black Lives Matter for one simple reason. It's obvious that all lives do not matter. We say Black Lives Matter because all of the problems of a selfish and short-term world fall disproportionately on one group over another. We say that Black Lives Matter because, well, it's far too often black people that take the brunt of all of the sins of this world. Something like the image of Jesus being nailed to a cross. That's why we say Black Lives Matter. It's the symbol of everything that's gone wrong. And we see it play out. We see it right in front of us, and yet we can manage to ignore it. How does this happen? How do these institutions keep up? Well, I'll tell you. It's really simple. We value money far more than we value human life. And when you have something like that, you're going to see riots. This is what I was talking about just a few videos ago. We're going to see a lot more of this all around the world because human life is simply not valued. Now, I'm trying to do this, talk about this in a calm and collected and long-term way. But here we have an example of just what I'm talking about. Now, one of the key features of St. Paul, not just empowering people and taking care of neighborhoods, it's not perfect, but it does a better job than the city just across the Mississippi River. When you look at it, I mean, in Minneapolis, how do they do it with the police force? I mean, you have these cops who, I don't mean to make excuses for them, but they arrive in a situation and they come into a neighborhood where they might be the only thing that ever shows up from City Hall in that neighborhood. It's only when there's a time of crisis, and they come in with the disco lights and the sirens blaring and everything. And they're supposed to, take care of everything. They're supposed to be a psychologist and a preacher and a healer and a community organizer. But ultimately, they're the ones with the guns, right? That's what it is. And they develop a siege mentality. I don't mean to make excuses for them, but honestly, they're expected to do everything, and they're expected to respond, and they get paid like crap. And these guys, these thumpers who actually kill people, they know they're doing something wrong, but they're under a siege mentality, okay? The fire of adrenaline has taken over. They don't even know what they're doing anymore. If we value human life, we're going to take care of business. We're going to take care of people. We're going to take care of neighborhoods. And we're going to have a police force that maintains order that is highly professional. And we're going to have their back, both professionally and emotionally. But we don't do that. I mean, these guys are paid so bad that a lot of them have second jobs as bouncers at a nightclub rather than go home and meditate and relax and really have a chance to unwind and take care of themselves. We never let that happen. And so we get what we pay for. We have a police force that is run as thin as it possibly can. The violent crime rate in Minneapolis is 2 to 3 times that of St. Paul. Always has been. And they go from one siege to another. And eventually, something horrible happens. See, we don't value human life. That's the real problem. Black lives matter. And until we demonstrate that Black lives matter, we can't say that all lives matter. It's that simple. Now, racism is indeed the original sin of America. It's the reason why we have so much trouble getting anything done. I mean, why can't we have a healthcare system? Oh, you want to give benefits to them? Who are them? Well, we want to have a system that promotes all kinds of opportunities for people. What? You mean a free ride for them? Who is them? Well, We want to have guns to protect ourselves from them. Who is them? Well, Yeah, we're not going to talk about it, really. No. We're not really going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about the issues at the heart of the matter. That's what I've been trying to get at. In a quiet, clear voice, using terms that are different than what everyone else uses. But here you go. Events intervene, and I watch the city next door burn in a way that, honestly, any of us who went through Miami or any of the other cities in America that have burned, we knew this was coming, all right? And here it is. History does repeat in a certain way, doesn't it? Yeah. Look, this is not a black on white thing. We talk about things in racial terms to the extent we can talk about it at all, or we think of it anyways in racial terms and talk past it with little dog whistles and stuff. But that's not the issue at hand. The problem is our selfish short term system does not value human life. It's all about the dollar bills, not the people, not the people who actually what? Make wealth. All wealth comes from people, their skills, their ambition, their drive. If you have a system set up where people are automatically excluded, you are wasting the most valuable resource of this or any other nation. That's the problem. Setting whole groups of people aside and saying, go over here in this neighborhood that's walled off with freeways and just just deal with it. And when things get really bad, we'll turn on the disco lights and just show up. No, no, that's not the way anything good is going to happen. We have to value human life. We have to value human ambition and drive. And we have to build skills. And we have to stop thinking in the selfish short term. Now, I know it's really difficult in the middle of this news cycle. This is how things always go down. And you look at it and you say, well, they're just looting. It's just a looting thing. Yeah, everybody thinks in the selfish short term. They're just destroying their own businesses. Look, they, once again, the they. We've got to avoid that. And don't think for a second that there aren't a bunch of young punks who are not from Minneapolis, who aren't part of this whole thing, who are, sticking it to the system because they enjoy it. Yeah. Everything is breaking down. You want to maintain social order? You want to have a system where people are responsible for their actions and can move accordingly? They have to be part of the system. You have to have something that values their lives. Black lives matter. We say that over and over and over again because it is obviously not true in the current world that we live. And it's not just black people that are getting left out, not by a long shot. But they are indeed the symbol, the one thing that we just can't get past. The opportunity for everybody. Yeah, I know, white guy, full of privilege, I know that. What can I do with it? Well, what I'm trying to do is to talk quietly, away from all the noise, and just say, look, it doesn't have to be this way. It is this way because things were set up this way. And we can set them up in a different way. And we can look at things in a different way. Until everybody is part of the system and has the same opportunities and the same access, we're going to have problems like this. Cities are going to burn. It's that simple. We cannot continue going through and not valuing human life. Starting with, first of all, we can't have police action which kills people. Then we have to have true neighborhood development, people working together who are empowered to take control of their lives. And then they have personal opportunity, regardless of skin color. The problem is everywhere. But in America, the problems of the country fall disproportionately on one group over another. And that makes it easier to ignore somehow, makes it easier to talk around. No, we have to confront it. We're going to confront it one way or the other. If we can't talk about it, if we can't confront it with words, we're going to confront it with flames. That's what it comes down to. If you don't like what you see, you can do something about it. I don't like what I see. I want to do something. I've done many things over the course of my life, improved my little neighborhood, spoken out, gotten involved politically. But with age, I've decided that, you know what? It's time to try a quiet voice, because I think that through the pandemic, everybody realizes that everything has to change, and we have lots of time. I hope we're making good use of the time. Unfortunately, in the middle of all this, we do have the riots because, well, things haven't changed in a long time. History continues the downbeat. History continues the beatdown. You don't like it? I don't like it. What are you going to do to stop it? Don't give the easy answers. This has been a long time coming. It's been many years. It's been many thoughts. It's been many words, many actions, but many, many heartbeats. The problem is deep inside. Do we live in a world that values human life? I don't think so. What would a world that really values human life look like? That's what I'm trying to talk to you about. And I'm not going to tell you I have all the answers. I'm just one pale male talking. Let's all talk a little bit in nice, quiet voices. I mean, presuming you don't like seeing riots. So let's talk in quiet voices together. Give it a try. What would a different world look like? That's what I'm here for. And I'll get back to the points I was making before. But we can expect that there will be a lot more events like this. That's what I've been trying to say. What are we going to do about it? Selfish, short-term thinking got us here. It ain't going to get us out. Black Lives Matter. Don't forget that.